Hey everyone, you know the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO for short, is a military alliance made up of about 30 member states. As well as providing military support, member states also get access to some of the most powerful military technologies in the world. So, join me for today's video as we take a look at the top 15 most advanced NATO weapons. Number 15. F-35 Lightning II. Developed by Lockheed Martin alongside Northrop Grumman and BAE Systems for the U.S. Marine Corps, Air Force, and Navy, the F-35 Lightning II is the latest designed single-seater, single-engine stealth multi-role combat aircraft. The F-35 measures 51.4 feet long and has got a wingspan of about 35 feet. It's powered by a Pratt & Whitney F135 PW100 afterburning turbofan engine, which allows it to reach a maximum speed of 1.6 times the speed of sound, with an operating range of up to 1,700 miles. As you'd expect, it's fitted with the latest technology such as an EO targeting system, a distributed aperture missile warning system, a CNI communication suite, and a Barracuda electronic warfare system, and can be configured based on the mission with a range of missiles, bombs, and guns. Differing variants are available too, including a conventional takeoff and landing variant, short takeoff and landing version, and one designed for catapulted takeoff from an aircraft carrier, with a number of other options currently in the works for introduction in the coming decades. Number 14. M142 HIMARS Rocket Artillery System. First developed in the late 1990s by Lockheed Martin for the U.S. Army, and it's now used by several NATO members and allies, the M142 HIMARS Rocket Artillery System is an extremely powerful system that's been integral in military campaigns over the past 2 decades, and is valued because of its speed and maneuverability compared to alternatives. Mounted on an FMTV truck that's 23 feet long and just under 8 feet wide, it carries a pod that has either 6 guided multiple launch rockets, an ATA-CMS surface-to-surface missile, or 2 precision strike GPS-guided missiles. Boasting an operational range of 300 miles and able to travel at speeds of up to 53 miles an hour, it has an effective firing range, depending on the munitions being used, of between 5 and 310 miles. Around 540 of these have so far been built at an estimated cost of around $3.5 million each. As a sign of how effective they are, the U.S. announced in early summer 2022 that 4 of them with the shorter-range GMLRS rockets would be sent to Ukraine to help troops defend against Russian forces, and within days of arriving, a number of Russian command posts had already been taken out. Number 13. Leopard 2A7 Plus Tank. The German-designed Leopard 2 first entered service in 1979, but to keep up with the changing nature of battlefields has continued to be upgraded, with the latest version being the 2A7 Plus. At a cost of around $6 million, they are 33 feet long and just over 12 feet wide, and they weigh about 68 tons. Operated by a 4-person crew, the Leopard 2A7 Plus has a 1,400 horsepower liquid-cooled V12 engine, and this allows it to reach a top speed of 42 miles per hour with a range of about 250 miles. In terms of weaponry, it's fitted with a 120mm Rheinmetall smoothbore gun, along with 4 7.62mm machine guns, and a huge effort's been put into its defensive capabilities to make it one of the best protected tanks used by any military. It's got modular armor that protects it from RPGs and roadside explosives, and also has a remote-controlled mobile weapons platform that can automatically engage to combat incoming threats. Now currently, this improved model is only used by Hungary and Qatar, but it will soon be introduced to the German military too, and will become their main battle tank before a newly developed design that's being developed in collaboration with the French is able to enter service in the 2030s. Number 12. B-2 Spirit. Often simply known as the stealth bomber, the Northrop Grumman B-2 Spirit is a stealth strategic heavy bomber that first officially entered service in 1997. It's the most expensive plane ever built, and the numbers keep on rising depending on what you count within the final tally. In total, 21 of them have been produced, and while the official price for each one was $737 million, the procurement cost, which includes spare parts, retrofitting, and software upgrades, is around $929 million. And when development, engineering, and testing costs are included, each jet was around $2.1 billion in 1997 prices. With a 2-person crew, the bomber is 69 feet long, has a wingspan of 172 feet, and is powered by 4 General Electric non-afterburning turbofans, which allow it to reach a top speed of about 630 miles an hour and a range of up to 6,900 miles. It's got 2 internal bays for an official payload capacity of 40,000 pounds, which equates to 80 Mark 82 bombs or 16 B-61 or B-83 nuclear bombs. Of course, the biggest advance in the development of the B-2 was the flight profile and materials used in the construction that make it extremely difficult to detect and allow it to, in effect, enter any region and deliver its payload before being spotted. And it was first used to drop conventional weapons in combat in the 1999 war in Kosovo. Since then, it's been used in a number of campaigns, but with 20 still in active service, the program is scheduled to end in 2032. At this point, the B-2s will all be decommissioned and replaced with a new design, the B-21 Raider, which itself is expected to cost around $550 million per unit. Number 11. MQ-1 Gray Eagle Attack Drone. Built by General Atomics Aeronautical Systems and first introduced in 2009, the MQ-1 Gray Eagle attack drone is described as being a medium-range, long-endurance unmanned aircraft system. It was created for the U.S. Army as an upgrade to the Predator drone, and plans are for other NATO countries and allies to operate them as well. Measuring 28 feet long with a wingspan of 57 feet, each one is powered by a Thielert Centurion 1.7 heavy fuel engine that gives it a top speed of 192 miles an hour and the ability to stay airborne for up to 36 hours at a time at an altitude of around 25,000 feet. The strange-shaped nose was designed to accommodate a synthetic aperture radar system and a multispectral targeting system, and these allow it to accurately track specific targets while flying so that they can barely be seen from the ground. They are so precise that they can even detect buried explosives to provide intel to ground troops, and of course have 4 hardpoints that can be used to carry Hellfire missiles or Viper strike-guided bombs. The Gray Eagle is a highly effective aircraft that can preemptively strike emerging threats or targets, and all without risking the life of a pilot, as they can amazingly be operated from control centers anywhere on the planet thanks to a continual satellite uplink. Number 10. Harpoon Anti-Ship Missile. The best weapons aren't always necessarily the newest ones, and that's definitely the case of the Harpoon anti-ship missile. The first of these all-weather, over-the-horizon missiles entered service in 1977, and while they've undergone a number of significant upgrades since then, the basic principles of how they work remains the same. Used by several NATO members as well as certain allies, they're built by Boeing Defense and cost around $1.5 million per missile. They're powered by a Teledyne CAE J402 turbojet engine that can be used for surface or submarine launches. These Harpoon missiles are about 12 feet long, while the ones that can be air-launched or submarine-launched are slightly longer at 15 feet. They weigh as much as 1,300 pounds and have a wingspan of about 36 inches, and they're able to reach speeds of up to 530 miles an hour with a 487-pound warhead that produces a penetration high-explosive blast. They have a range of between 50 and 150 nautical miles and a maximum flight ceiling of about 2,900 feet. Just one of these missiles can, in theory, sink an enemy ship if it strikes the right place, but even if it doesn't, it's almost guaranteed to incapacitate the vessel so it no longer poses a threat, all while the ship firing the missile remains out of sight beyond the horizon. Number 9. Eurofighter Typhoon. Designed to be an air superiority fighter and produced as a collaborative project between Airbus, BAE Systems, and Leonardo Aerospace, the Eurofighter Typhoon project began in the 1980s and developed a highly capable aircraft that's used mainly by the air forces of the UK, Germany, Italy, and Spain, along with several NATO allies around the world. It's crewed by either 1 or 2 people, is 52 feet long, and has got a wingspan of about 35 feet. It's powered by 2 purposefully designed Eurojet EJ200 afterburning turbofan engines, and these give the jet a top speed of Mach 2, or the equivalent of 1,300 miles an hour. As a strategic fighter, it's armed with a 27mm Mauser BK-27 revolver cannon and has 13 hardpoints for missiles and bombs. Almost 600 of them have now been produced, and after first being used in 2011 by the Royal Air Force during the campaign in Libya, they're now seen as the primary air defense aircraft in all of the remaining customer nations. Hundreds are still on order, and with upgraded specs on offer and the ability for owners to customize them to their particular needs, it's likely the Typhoons will be a powerful tool in the skies for decades to come, with only a handful of other jets able to take them on. Number 8. PZH-2000. Developed for the German Army by Krauss-Maffei Wegmann in the 1980s and 90s, the PZH-2000 is a 155mm self-propelled howitzer that first entered service in 1998. It's used by a number of nations such as Italy, Greece, Lithuania, and Croatia, and is well regarded both for its rate of fire and its maximum range. Measuring 38 feet long and 12 feet wide, the 61.5-ton vehicle is operated by a 5-person crew, and it's able to reach a top speed of about 41 miles an hour, and it's got a travel range up to 260 miles. Its main armament is the Rheinmetall 155mm L-52 artillery gun, which is supported by a much smaller MG3 machine gun, and it's protected by a thick sheet of welded steel. The main gun is compatible with different various types of rounds and was specifically designed to fire rapidly. In the burst fire setting, it can launch 3 rounds in just 9 seconds, and if firing constantly, it's able to release 10 rounds per minute over prolonged periods. The range of fire depends on the particular munitions being used, but it's typically between 19 and 42 miles, with the top end of this being a recent record set by a newly developed round. Number 7. P-8A Poseidon. Designed for the U.S. Navy by Boeing, who based it on the 737-800, the P-8A is a maritime patrol and reconnaissance aircraft that has become used in recent years by a number of NATO states for one main reason: it's an excellent submarine hunter. Measuring 129 feet long with a wingspan of 123 feet, it's powered by 2 CFM56 turbofans that give it a top speed of 564 miles an hour and a combat range of up to 1,381 miles. A huge amount of electrical equipment is on board, so much so that generators on each engine have double the capacity than are used on civilian versions of the 737, and it's also been designed to have a smoother flight experience, so crew can concentrate on missions more easily. Featuring acoustic trackers, surface search radar, and a whole suite of further methods of scanning the water, each Poseidon is accompanied by a Triton unmanned aerial surveillance drone that provides further monitoring and coverage. This just isn't about detecting subs though, as the Poseidon also has the ability to actively target them. It's got 11 hardpoints that are compatible with a wide range of different weapons, and if necessary has what it needs to incapacitate a submarine before it's able to initiate an attack. Number 6. Javelin missiles. First designed for use by the U.S. Army, but now something that's used to varying degrees by most NATO members, Javelin missiles are one of the most effective battlefield solutions that are used against tanks. They level the playing field and allow soldiers to target what would otherwise be unassailable machines, and since their introduction in 1997 have been used in at least 5,000 successful engagements. Crucially, it has a fire-and-forget design, which means it can be deployed by an operator who is then able to take cover and rely on the infrared guidance to take the missile into its target. Each missile has a highly explosive anti-tank warhead that targets tanks by top attack, which is the part that's usually covered by the thinnest armor. With a cost of around $200,000 per missile, they've completely changed the face of the battlefield. Number 5. AH-64 Apache Gunship. Designed and developed by Boeing, the AH-64 Apache gunship was first introduced in 1986 and has become one of the most influential vehicles on the battlefield. It's classed as a twin turboshaft attack helicopter, and it's been the primary chopper of its type in campaigns in Panama, Kosovo, Afghanistan, and Iraq. Measuring 58 feet long and powered by 2 General Electric T700 engines that drive the 48-foot main rotor, it's able to reach speeds of up to 182 miles an hour over a range of up to 300 miles. It's operated by a 2-person crew, and it's fitted with a 30mm M230 chain gun with 1,200 rounds, as well as 4 hardpoints that can carry a combination of rockets or missiles, which are usually either Hellfire air-to-ground missiles or air-to-air Stingers. Since their introduction, more than 2,400 have been built, and they're used not only by the U.S. forces, but by those of 7 other NATO countries and allies that include the UK, the Netherlands, Israel, and Egypt. Number 4. Virginia-class submarine. The Seawolf class of submarines are by far the most powerful in the United States Navy, but their extreme costs mean that the focus is now on the newly designed Virginia class. They are nuclear-powered fast attack subs that first entered service in 2004 and are expected to continue in operation until at least 2060. The subs are 377 feet long and 34 feet wide, and because they have a nuclear fuel cell, they have an unlimited range. They've got a crew up to 135 members and have a maximum depth of up to 1,000 feet and can travel at up to 29 miles per hour in silent operation, or more than that if the engine noise isn't a concern. As you'd expect from a new design, Virginia-class submarines are equipped with an unbelievable arsenal, some of which have been officially announced in public, and some of which are just rumors, since the full details are classified. They've got 12 vertical launch system tubes that are used for Tomahawk missiles, 4 torpedo tubes, and can store 25 torpedoes and 12 missiles at any one time. There's also the suggestion that each of these subs is fitted with a high-energy laser weapon that's built into one of the masts, and it's thought to be capable of having a power output of up to 500 kilowatts and can interfere with and potentially incapacitate enemy forces. Number 3. Challenger 2 tank. The Challenger 2 is the main battle tank used by British forces, and it's been a force to be reckoned with since it first entered service in 1998. Plans have been in place for a while to replace it with a completely redesigned model, but the Challenger 2 has been so effective in the wars of the 21st century that these plans have been put on hold, and efforts have been directed to upgrading a design that's already proved its worth. At 44 feet long, including the gun barrel, up to 14 feet wide with its armor packages, and about 8 feet tall, the 82-ton Challenger 2 is operated by a 4-person crew. It's got a V12 diesel engine that produces over 1,200 horsepower and enables the tank to reach a top speed of about 37 miles an hour with a range of about 340 miles. The main weapon of the Challenger 2 is an L30A1 120mm rifled gun that fires high-explosive squash-head rounds, but it also has secondary weapon systems that include a 7.62mm chain gun and a 7.62mm operated hatch machine gun. In terms of defensive capabilities, it's covered with a second-generation classified composite ceramic armor, which has meant that despite being deployed in various war zones, the only time a Challenger 2 has been destroyed was during an accidental friendly fire incident where the destroyed tank had its hatch open. Number 2. Patriot Missile System. Used by the United States Armed Forces as well as those of Germany, Greece, the Netherlands, and Spain, the MIM-104 Patriot is a surface-to-air missile system. It's designed to not only intercept enemy aircraft, but more importantly, to defend against missile strikes and use aerial interceptor missiles and high-performance radars to track targets and take them out. Its first successful deployment was in the 1991 Gulf War when it was credited with intercepting 40 Iraqi Scud missiles, and it's been a regular sight on battlefields ever since. Used in the conflicts in the Middle East in the past decades and with more than 1,250 launchers currently in service, the Patriot system is crucial to providing reassurance that even if an enemy did decide to launch a missile, there's at least a chance of defending against it. Number 1. Boeing B-52 Stratofortress. The incredible B-52 Stratofortress was developed by Boeing in the 1950s for the United States Air Force, and between 1952 and 1962, 744 of the long-range strategic bombers were built. It was an absolute game-changer for the Air Force's capabilities, offering the ability to carry 35 tons worth of ordnance with a range of 8,800 miles before it needs to refuel. The main intent of the plane was to be able to carry nuclear bombs during the Cold War, although they have, of course, only ever been used to drop conventional bombs. At 159 feet long and with a wingspan of 189 feet, the Stratofortress requires a 5-member crew to operate fully, which includes a pilot, co-pilot, a weapons systems officer, a navigator, and an electronic warfare officer. It weighs more than 132 tons on its own before any cargo is loaded, so to make it airworthy, it's fitted with 8 Pratt & Whitney TF-33 turbofan engines that produce 17,000 pounds of thrust each. Flying at an altitude of up to 50,000 feet, it has a top speed of about 650 miles an hour. These are some of the most capable bomber aircraft ever designed, with the capability of carrying huge payloads. And despite being an old design, they'll remain in service for many decades to come and provide NATO members with aerial dominance if the need arises. I'll see you next time.
Watch our Machines playlist for more top 15 videos about awesome machines. Sit back, relax, and binge watch all of our best machine videos.